Well, welcome along to another podcast, Pop of the Tops. And this week, something a little bit different. So one of the things that I've been scheming over the last fortnight or so is a series of podcasts, videos, looking at some of the best, most epic things from the CrossFit Games history as we sort of march our way towards the Games 2024. Just the other week, I was knocking around some categories on a flight to the south of Spain, coming up with things like my favorite lifts of all time in CrossFit Games, or my most epic finishes, the weirdest events, categories like that. And just to pass the time, trying to create these own lists for myself. Where over the last couple of weeks, I've been scripting up some of that. I've been downloading the clips, getting ready to edit all of that together. When I opened up YouTube this morning and saw that one of my favorite videographers, one of the best CrossFit YouTubers that there is, Wykie, has done his own 2-part video series on his top 20 moments from the CrossFit Games. So this is a bit broader than what I have done. But I thought, you know what will be fun is a live reaction, is just to watch what Wykie has come up with and see whether I agree or disagree or how I respond and react to the top 20. So all of this, his videos, my podcast now, is about whetting our appetite, because in just a couple of short months, the CrossFit Games will be back. We'll be in Fort Worth for the first time ever, the 40 fittest men, the 40 fittest women. I believe it's the 40 fittest teams as well, going to be throwing down before we find out who the fittest on earth is. So I thought, well, why not make a couple of videos and why not react to what Wykie has produced himself? One of the things you always get with Wykie is just videos that look beautiful. He's got such an aesthetic eye. He's also got a really pleasant accent, that mix of Safa and Australian. He's an all-round good dude as well. So I'm looking forward to this. So if he sounds hyper, it's because I've sped him up just so that we can watch these videos. They're about 30 minutes combined with my comments on. Okay, well, without further ado, let's react to Wykie's CrossFit Games all-time best moments.
With the 2024 CrossFit Games just around the corner, I thought I would take a walk down memory lane and find some of the most memorable moments in the history of the CrossFit Games. Here we go.
Okay, doesn't hang around. I think I took about 3 minutes to intro my video. Wykie is straight into it, so I presume we're not going to have much time to dwell on any of them. Let's go, number 20.
In 20th place, we have to go back to 2009 at the Ranch, one of my favorite CrossFitters of all time, Chris Spieler. This was workout number 3, 170-meter sprint up a steep dirt hill, and in classic Kalipa fashion, he was out the gate hot.
So I can honestly say that this has not made it onto any of my lists so far. I sort of discovered CrossFit in 2018 as someone who was viewing it, didn't start really partaking in it until the middle of the first lockdown in 2020. So although I've gone back and I've watched some of the behind the scenes stuff, I know from the larger CrossFit culture, some of these names, some of these things, but the actual events of the 2009 CrossFit Games would be a mystery to me. Everyone knows Kalipa. It doesn't matter when you started watching CrossFit. Guy's a beast. Guy's a tank. Ooh. There comes Spieler.
And slowly, Kalipa just reeled them in.
Spieler's sort of well known for being so much smaller than the others. I think the guy who invented the butterfly pull-up as well. And carrying sandbags up a hill, apparently.
But the best part about this moment is the way they collapsed at the end of this run. Just full shoulder, head dive into the dust. An absolutely iconic moment back where the CrossFit Games started at the Ranch.
Yeah, I can see how that's a moment. So we got 19 more to go. We don't want to dwell on these too much.
In 19th place, we go back even one more earlier to the 2008 CrossFit Games. Once again, we have Mr. Kalipa. He is making a comeback to try and win this thing. In the dirt, in the dust again. They are doing 30 squat clean and what should have been a jerk. He was doing strict press for time, and he comes from behind to win the CrossFit Games in this amazing video of Khalifa just selling his soul in the dust. And number 18.
So I do know about that one because I've listened to so many podcasts when people have been speaking about Khalifa or indeed interviewing Khalifa. The 2008 Games was very different because it was the cumulative time for the 4 events. And I've got a feeling that Khalifa was miles behind going into that final event. But as you can see, he's such an animal. It was supposed to be 30 clean and jerks. He was just clustering them. Incredible. And I think he ended up winning by a fair amount as well. So that was his CrossFit Game victory. But that's actually on one of my lists, the most epic finishes, because nobody was looking at him. He wasn't anywhere near the front at the start of that event, but he absolutely made mincemeat of that barbell for the clean and jerks, or what he ended up doing, which was just push pressing it.
A name you'll be hearing a few times during the top 20 moments, and that is Annie Thorisdottir. We're staying at the ranch.
It doesn't matter. It is Annie Thorisdottir. For me, arguably, she's the female GOAT. I think everything of Annie Thorisdottir. She's been there, well, this is showing us from 2009. This is the video of her getting her first ever ring muscle up at the CrossFit Games. Like, we speak about the magic of the open and people in the box getting there first during the open. She's at the CrossFit Games. She's never done a ring muscle up before. And spoiler alert, she's just about to. Last year, she was still competing in the CrossFit Games. She's just an absolute machine and an animal. So my only concern with this, Wykie, is that it should be a lot higher because Annie is the boss.
2009 CrossFit Games, Annie gets her first ever muscle up in the chipper workout, and the star is born.
I mean, it's not a pretty muscle up. Nobody's ever said that, but she has done it. And believe you me, she's done plenty since then as well. She'll be back.
Okay, and number 17. Let's fast forward to the 2019 CrossFit Games. We had the benchmark workout Mary, which is 20 minutes, as many rounds as possible, of 5 handstand push-ups, 10 alternating pistol squats, and 15 pull-ups. I'm not sure if you're allowed to kip, but she did not. She just did them strict so fast, and that was definitely a moment to remember in the CrossFit Games history. Okay.
A lot of people slag off the 2019 CrossFit Games because it was the games where they invited all those national champions, where they made massive, drastic cuts all the way through. They weeded everyone down to the final 10 before there was a big lift. People actually at the time really criticized that event. It was Mary, it was 20 minutes, as many rounds as possible. And people sort of complained that it was repetitive movements over and over again for 20 minutes and there was no real race. It features what I think is one of the best finishes ever. I remember watching that live and just being absolutely on the edge of my seat. And Carrie Pierce doing every single push-up, handstand push-up, strict, was incredible. It made it less surprising in 2020. Maybe this is going to be in the rest of the list. I don't know. It made it so much less surprising in 2020 when she absolutely hammered Atalanta at the ranch, that it shrunk down. Extreme 2019, all the national champions invited. 2020, 5 men, 5 women, shrunk down field, and she absolutely obliterated Atalanta. She's incredible. She was incredible. So gutted for her that she missed out. I think it was in 2021. She turned up to the games and had COVID. I hope, Wykie, that's not going to be one of your most memorable moments, but you got to give the girl her props, beating all the women, beating all the men. Matt Fraser, Noah Olsen. Incredible.
Coming in 16th place, Dan Bailey at the 2015 CrossFit Games. There was a 2-part sprint workout where Dan Bailey destroyed the workout, but I think over the second hurdle, lost his sunnies, caught them midair, and there's this beautiful footage of him just midair sprinting, jumping, and grabbing his sunnies, and just finishing in a real hype moment in classic Dan Bailey style. 16th place, well deserved. What a legend, Dan Bailey.
So I'm a little bit annoyed that you've included this, Wykie, because you're probably going to get me contradicting myself later on. But visually, incredible moment, you know, that he catches his sunglasses as he's doing the hurdles. But to my mind, and I'm probably going to pick out moments and their visualness in my top list, or commend or condemn you elsewhere for this. But to my mind, that this just does not feel like an epic moment at the CrossFit Games. For the simple fact that why bother? Like, it's fun that he did it and it looks cool on camera, but I just can't see that this is an epic moment. Sorry, my lad. If of all the 20 best things ever to have happened in the CrossFit Games, this is one of the best, most epic, then that's actually a pretty sad indictment on the sport and on the games in general. A guy caught a pair of $20, $100 sunglasses. Who cares? You're better than that, Wykie, and I'm positive that you've got better to come.
In 15th place, we go to the 2022 CrossFit Games, an event that many people thought might not play out very well and be a disaster. Was the sandbag ladder. But it ended up being one of the most memorable events and moments in the history of the sport. And we had Danny Spiegel.
So I'm not sure whether he's picked Danny Spiegel just obliterating the field in this one, or whether he's picked the entire event. In my mind, there are so many moments in this one event that he will stretch them all out, and there'll be multiple different things that he calls back. Danny's performance, without a doubt, was fantastic. To my mind, the best lift of the entire event was Jacqueline Dahlstrom. She ended up not in your list of the top 10 strongest women's there, but she manhandled a bag that was like more than 1.5 times her own body weight or something ridiculous. You had the 4 guys all cleaning the heaviest bag, going to the tiebreaker, and then literally the dead tie between Nick Matthews and Guy Malheiros. The whole thing sounds daft. Sandbag, clean ladder, but it was just wonderfully entertaining from start to finish, and it contained loads of amazing moments.
And definitely one of the most memorable moments in the games. Taking the 14th spot is the mullet man himself, Justin Medeiros. The year is 2021. He made the games in 2020, but people doubted whether he had the goods. It was a small field of 5 athletes.
He didn't just make the games in 2020, he podiumed at the games in 2020. He beat out future CrossFit Games champion, Jeffrey Adler. Let's not forget that.
In 2021, and that great overhead lunge display with just the most perfect overhead position. His family right there in the front. And I think, after having someone like Rich and Matt just dominate the sport, this was a memorable moment to kind of answer the question of who will be the next champ. And it was none other than Justin Medeiros.
So that's sort of like a mixture moment. It was inevitable that the torch was passing on because Matt didn't get beaten, he retired. It was also bittersweet because, as I seem to recall, that year Uncle Pat came second. And who wouldn't love Uncle Pat to have a CrossFit Games title to his name? And the actual final event, I rember loving that his parents were right there at the end, that he just crushed the final event. But he was in the lead going into it. And I think he was just in the lead pretty much throughout. It never looked like he was going to waver. In that sense, it was a strong performance. It was the culmination. It was like the beginning of a new era. He's going to win it in 2022 as well. A decent moment. Surprised that it's beaten some of the ones that we've already had. Surprised, if I'm honest, that it's in the top 20. But a decent moment. I understand why it's there.
And number 13, that very same year, 2021, Annie Thorisdottir made her return to individual competition after giving birth to her daughter. And there was a snatch event, and she lined up a 200-pound snatch.
I said that there are going to be moments with Annie Thorisdottir, and probably chief amongst them is this one. He's got the video queued up. We're going to see her face when she finally lands this snatch. Like, people had no expectation that she was going to do anything this year. She ends up coming second. Third. Laura Hobart beats her out on the final day, I think. She podiums, whichever way it is. She can't believe she hits this snatch. No one expected her to. And one of the most amazing things is that in CrossFit, it's not just one attempt at the lift. Sometimes they put the rule in where you've got like a certain time window that as long as you begin a lift in that time window, you can complete it outside of it. She fails the first one. She hits the second one. even the way she stands it up, it's not an attractive lift in that sense. But she knows as soon as she's caught it at the bottom that she's got this, and it is wonderful. I remember watching this 5 or 6 times in 2021, and I think I probably cried every single time. Watching it live and then watching it on various people's vlogs afterwards, Battery Bros, Craig Wykie, probably Wykie himself. I'm pretty sure I cried every time. So give me a moment to see if I can compose myself before watching it again.
Missed her first attempt, had 30 seconds to go again, and pretty much started the lift right on the second and landed it. And the surprise on her face, it was almost comical how surprised she was that she made that lift. But
look at her hips go up. Oh, at the time, Brooke Wells had injured her elbow, and that lift scared me.
We had 2 ladies left in the end. We had Amanda Barnard and Tia Claire Toomey. They started at 240 pounds and were going back and forth, 245, 250, 255. Amanda made a really nice clean at 260. In my opinion, looked a lot better than Tia's 260.
So this event as a whole, it cannot be above the sandbag. For a start, the field was so much shrunken down. The way that the events had played out in 2019, that was the big year. That's where there were multiple heavy cuts. And really one of the big criticisms of this year is that strength wasn't tested until so late on. So we missed out on, I can't remember the names of various people, but people who would have very much come top of the tree, sort of top 3, top 4, top 5 contenders for this event. It was a smaller field. That probably helped it be more exciting. You had the athletes there more regularly. It was a faster pace in that sense than the sandbag event. But I don't think I remember really being hyped up by this. Side note, one of the things that has always frustrated me about Tia Claire Toomey is how ugly her front squats look when she's, near the top end and the knees are caving in, and she wins. Fair play, fair game. Just always found it a little bit frustrating. I think Matt Fraser wins this as well against Scott Panchek, and his lift is going to look pristine. So a decent event. Everybody loves a max lift. It was just a shame in this context that the strongest athletes weren't necessarily there to compete for it.
5 went on the bar, and Amanda missed it twice. And Tia just smelt blood, and all she had to do was make 265 to take the win. And in classic Tia fashion, she's not going to let that opportunity slide her by. And that moment of her making 265, the place erupted. And her response after making that lift has become her signature, something that we love to see. And this is, the pump, the 2-arm pump.
No doubt about it. She is savage. You can see, Matt?
And in 11th place, we go to the 2021 CrossFit Games once again. Coming off the COVID year of 2020, people were just hungry to perform in 2021. And when you have a max snatch event, there's always going to be fireworks. And Guy Malheiros go head to head in the snatch event. They both hit 300 pounds.
Did you spot that? Did you spot that there? Just a tiny little bit. Let me go back. Yes, this was back when Whoop and CrossFit were friends, and they were actually showing the live data 2021 of various athletes' heart rates. And I remember all week thinking that some of the heart rates were ridiculous. Turns out they are, because the latest Whoop is absolute garbage at picking up your heart rate. But it's interesting that that is still there on the video record. And now Whoop likes to pretend that CrossFit doesn't exist. So this was the same event that Annie Thorisdottir hit that magical 200-pound snatch. We've got Royce Dunn. We've got Guy Malheiros. I think it was Brent Fikowski who had not long been eliminated. But this is on my list for maybe the best lift ever in CrossFit Games history. Contender for that is Jacqueline Dahlstrom and her 1.5 bodyweight sandbag or whatever it was. But what you're about to see is Guy Malheiros with an absolutely textbook, flawless snatch, which he does in his Reebok Nanos, not because he's a Reebok athlete, but because in 2021, the No Bull CrossFit Games, Reebok, who had sort of like conceded title rights to the games, had come up with this scheme where they said that any athlete who wore specifically the nanos to win an event would then get a cash money prize. And a couple of the athletes who didn't have shoe sponsors really latched onto that and made the most of it. Guy Malheiros, I think in 2021, he won 3 separate events, and this was one of them, that he just wore his nanos for a max snatch event because it meant that he was going to win a couple of $1,000. And that guy's an animal. Guy's an absolute freak.
300 pounds. Then Royce unfortunately missed 305. And then Guy just came out and absolutely...
I know I've got this on sped up, but it looks like that no matter what speed you play it back. You could play this at half speed, and he is so fast under the bar, straight into position. He stands it up so beautifully. Not like I was saying the Annie Thor's daughter, where she's leaning forward, her elbows are going. He's just complete and utter control in his nanos. I think this would be in my top 10 overall moments if I was going to be making my own list.
That's the prettiest snatch I have ever seen. The speed that he drops under this bar, it is stupidity. And once again, a star was born in this moment. People fell in love with Guy, his theatrics and the way he responded after the lift. It was beautiful, and it's going to be good to have Guy back at the games this year. So there you go. That is number 20 through to number 11. We are going to do a separate video for the top 10 coming in the next couple of days, so stay tuned. There are some unbelievable memories that I'm sure you're going to enjoy watching in the history of our sport. The top 10 moments, in my opinion. So
nice clickbait, cliffhanger bait. We will. Well, you're going to see us very soon, Wykie, because I've already got your next video lined up, and I cannot wait to see these top 10 moments. I mean, if that last one wasn't enough to get you hyped for the year to come, for the games to come, well, we're about to see what he thinks is the top 10 moments in CrossFit Games history. My heart rate is increasing. Let's just go. Let's just get in. Let's go, boy.
Okay, buckle up. This is the top 10 most memorable, most impactful, most epic moments in the history of the CrossFit Games. Coming in 10th place, we have the legend Josh Bridges, 2016 Mirth, his hero workout at the Games.
So again, this was a little bit before my time, a little bit before I really started being present with CrossFit. This is something I've just been able to catch up with. But if I'm right in getting the order of these things, which I think I am, 2015 Murph was the year that everyone had just been obliterated by the heat. You had Cara Webb, Annie Thor's daughter, either withdrawing immediately or later or tumbling down the leaderboard or whatever it was. You had people hiding under advertising hoardings because they were so hot, discombobulated. And as I recall, one of the things that really, really wound Josh Bridges up was that BKG had won for the men. Someone who wasn't American. And Josh Bridges had this whole like SEALs thing, that this was Murph. This was in honor of one of our own fallen heroes. And so when it was repeated in 2016 on the documentary, he just speaks about how like determined he was to win this event, that he was willing to sell his soul for this event, to win this, to reclaim it for America. USA, USA. And he did. Fair play. You've got to love it when somebody calls their shot and they actually land it. But, you know, everybody loves a Josh Bridges celebration because the guy is hyped. There's nothing understated ever about this man when he's celebrating, when he's just crossed the line first. So, yeah, good memory.
Felt good. I wish Matt would have done worse, but hey, what are you going to do? You guys putting out right now.
I wish Matt had done worse. Yeah, well, Matt ain't going to win it, so don't worry about it.
He sets an all-time record at the time.
Well, does Matt win it? 2016. Matt's year.
Of 34.38. It wasn't a real Murph, it was partitioned. Shut up. Okay? I know it was partitioned. Still an epic moment. Josh Bridges, winner of Mirth 2016. Coming in number 9, in 2022, there was an event called the Capital. And there was one last female athlete left called Rebecca Fuselier. If you want to know what the CrossFit community is all about, this...
I knew he was going to make me turn myself into a hypocrite. I knew he was going to do it because I knew that this was coming up. And I think 2022 Capital event is one of the best events ever at the CrossFit Games. Forget Rebecca Fuselier. Forget this epic finish and how wonderful this is. The whole event was visually great. It starts off and it's a little bit confused. You got a couple of people on the field. I think they're doing pig flips. But as soon as you're out on the run, it was so like intriguing to see people cycling past them, go running down the road, you know, jostling for position. Bosman was probably out there cycling, leading the way, showing them where to go. You had the sandbag jerry cans up and down these quite beautiful avenues in Madison. And then you just had this obliterator at the end. So many strewn bodies. Like every time someone finished, they would drop the Husafeld stone and they would pass out. And the judges were there trying to tell them to move out of the way, but they were absolutely roasted, absolutely cooked. You had so many people who were miles ahead blowing up and people who had sort of conserved their energy and knew how to hold on to the bag, overtaking them. This whole event was incredible. But one of the things that is most incredible is Rebecca Fuselier's finish. And not the, ooh, we're CrossFit, we clap the person coming last. Hot take. I hate that. I hate that. I think if I was one of the elite athletes, the number of times I would have sparked out Noah Olsen for that, coming along and cheering you on. No, she knows where she's at. She knows she's last. She doesn't need to be told that her best is good enough. She wants to finish the event. She wants to go away. She's probably a little bit embarrassed. Just this week on Friday, I was last by miles in class. I didn't need encouragement. What I needed was kicking out. But that aside, why I love this is a little bit that some of the photographs, it looks stunning having this field of people, which wasn't actually a massive crowd, the steps and this solo person finishing. But how well she does on the final stairs and carry to the line. I'm sure there's footage, obviously there's footage, you can go back and watch all of the events, of people making it up these last stairs and then dropping the bag and having another rest before carrying it over the line and collapsing into a heap. But if he gives enough of this clip, we're going to see, though she's miles behind from, I don't know at what point she really dropped behind in this. She was probably from near the back, straight from the pig flips right at the start. But she actually obliterates this last set of steps and the carry over the line and doesn't collapse, kind of shrugs her shoulders and says, yeah, what else you got?
To the actual field, kind of gather behind Rebecca and encourage her as she finished the Capital event, and just a extremely memorable moment. Hard not to actually put this even higher up the list, but definitely a top 10 moment in the history of the CrossFit Games.
Cut it out, my man.
Okay, coming in number 8, one of my favorite female athletes in the field right now, Danielle Brandon, DB.
I'm over DB. Just so we're clear about that. I remember when she was the new girl on the block, the badass 2021, flipping the birds to the crowd. Yeah, I enjoyed it. She was sort of like a rising star. To my mind and to my money, there are so many more female athletes out there now that are much more intriguing and exciting. The women's field this year is incredible. She's definitely a part of that. I'm just not a massive DB energy kind of guy anymore. I'll be honest with you. It feels a little bit 2021.
Both her training partners from her camp got pulled out of the games because they had COVID, and she kind of got secluded from the rest of the athletes, compete in her own lane, wear a mask, and for the whole weekend she was just kind of kept separate.
If we're talking about moments for Danielle Brandon in 2021, well, then there are two really. The first is this. By far and away, the best handstand walk, male or female. She absolutely smashes it. But the other one that I remember sticking out for me was she was going to end up doing the run event, which was the 440-meter run or whatever it was. There was a bit running outside, curved into the stadium at the end for like 50 meters, which obviously who you're running against really depends on the time that you're going to get. Running against people, you sort of pace yourself off one another. So whoever you're running with is really going to have an impact on that. She was down to run that event on her own because of the COVID restrictions on her. And I think a number of athletes said that they were going to run with her. I think Sam Briggs was one of them. I want to say Laura was one of them. And that was sort of like, to my mind, that was more of the CrossFit community sort of standout moment than even the people cheering Rebecca on at the Capitol. Probably not going to be in his top 20, certainly not in my top 20. I wouldn't have this handstand walk and the celebration afterwards, but it is good value. And it was really the birth of Danielle Brandon in like the public's perception and the public's mind. I think the year previously, maybe the 2 year previously, she'd been on the demo team with Dave Castro, made a little bit of an impact, tattoos, brightly coloured hair, what have you. But this is where Danielle Brandon really was born, the celebration. I think I've just talked myself into this being one of the best moments in CrossFit Games history. Okay, Wykie, I'm with you once more.
The workout came up, the handstand walk workout, and she absolutely destroyed the field, jumped up on the platform, the crowd were cheering, she had the blue hair, and she flipped off the crowd out of sheer relief and frustration and who knows why. It was just this amazing moment of DB finally getting something positive out of the weekend. So a number 8, well deserved, DB upside down on her hands.
I think I've heard podcasts with her speaking about that, and I don't think she really knows why she flipped off the crowd. It wasn't something that was planned, I don't think. It was just something that was a spur of the moment reaction. Someone suggested to her it was flipping off CrossFit for having isolated her. I don't think she said it was that either. It was just something that came out when the moment felt right. So what are we up to? Number 7?
Coming in number 7, we have a pretty unique and special moment at the Games. It is not often that you have the males and females going together in a workout. This year they were at the ranch. It was a reduced field, and the very last workout of the weekend was Murph.
Wow.
And we had this great moment.
No, it wasn't.
Where, to me, the two greatest of all time, Matt
that.
Fraser, Tia Claire Toomey.
Wykie, even look at the graphics up on the screen now, my man. It says Atalanta, which was like this mashup of Mary and Murph. So this was epic because Carrie Pierce was epic. Again, she was just an animal and a machine. This is probably one of my lowlights, my least favorite moments ever in CrossFit Games history, because it was one of the silliest things I've ever seen, with Matthew Fraser constantly waiting for Tia Claire Toomey to catch her. And it was all of this, like, oh, through thick and thin, through adversity, you know, we're the training partners. This was my last ever competition. Well, let me ask you this. When was the last time you saw these two people in a room together? Like, it was so important that they crossed the line hand in hand. It was insulting to the rest of the field, I thought, that Fraser didn't put the hammer down and win another event here. Maybe he did still win the event. My memory, we're going to see that maybe. But like, made this big deal about this person who I've shed sweat, blood, and tears with. Like, I want to finish my career crossing the line with her. And just, as far as I'm aware, there's no relationship there now whatsoever. So I thought it was silly and disrespectful at the time. I think hindsight has proven that it's just even more a little bit daft. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe behind the publicity screens of hard work pays off and proven they're still best of buds, but they're not allowed to do that out in public because they're competing camps in CrossFit. But this made me feel ill at the time. These two, Carrie Pierce, not doing 2020 Murph, doing 2020 Atalanta, incredible. Oh, Haley Adams, tearing her hands. She was absolutely covered in blood, carrying on. That was a moment. That was grit. That was determination. That was probably my favorite ever Haley Adams moment at the CrossFit Games. Just like the tenacity and the hardness that she showed there. But these two goons holding hands, skipping across the line, I am not there for that.
We finished the workout together, and they were holding hands as they finished, hand in hand, both in their white and red outfits, and it was a great moment of Matt Fraser finishing off his career, his 5th.
No, Wykie, you've got it wrong, my man. I cannot believe it. Turn it off.
Championship, Tia winning her 4th. Yeah, just a very unique and special moment at the Games. Okay, in 6th place.
In terms of men versus women at the same time, we have had that a couple of times on like mass start things. And if you're looking at an event where Tia proves what a boss lady she is, then you can look no further than something 2016, 2017. I can't remember. It was run, paddle, and she and Matt McLeod were like neck and neck on the paddle board, and they were making out the commentators. Oh, look at this. The Australians, they know how to do it out on the water. They're shoulder to shoulder as they come out of the water. She sprints it. McLeod tries to get past her at the line. He just bumps her in the back. She wins. She beats the entire male field. Now that, my friend, is an epic moment, which I assume is going to be number 6, because you pick that as number 7. You have to pick Tia beating all of the men as number 6.
This is such an amazing moment. We are staying at the ranch, same year, 2020. They did
Okay. I got to think what else can appear from the ranch. Let's again put this into context. 2020, arguably a lot of people in frustration more than anything, sort of the asterisk year, because the online phase 1 where they all competed in their own gyms with judges, which CrossFit actually did a really good job of broadcasting. Then only 5 men and only 5 women went to the actual games at the ranch. To tell me that in CrossFit Games history, 2 of the finest moments ever, 2 of the top 10 best moments ever from CrossFit Games history came from that Games? My man, your neck is on the line. Let's see what you got.
the run. I think it was a 5K run, and they knew there would be a surprise, but they did not know what it would be.
I caught on to where we were, maybe a little bit.
Okay, so my criticism then is of Atalanta being in there, not this. This was beautiful. And I don't think Castro could have scripted it better with Fraser's just disgust at what transpired. This was a great event. I think I remember that as viewers, we knew what was coming. I think they'd let us know on the broadcast exactly what was happening. After the event, you saw Chandler Smith. He was demo team. He was one of the testers, and how he responded to the twist of what was coming. But yeah, this is a moment, Wykie. I'll give you this. You have redeemed yourself.
For Justin, and then I just sprinted.
At the very end, but there was definitely a twist.
So Fraser making the turn, Medeiros making the turn, and now a sprint to the finish.
Flips him off. Matt Fraser energy. So Daniel Brandon just stealing. But Justin goes. Look at that. Justin's in the lead at the halfway point. Wow.
And there you have it. They're not done. They just reached the halfway point.
And sure enough, they were only halfway there.
In terms of like unknown and unknowable, that is taking it to the nth degree. Where they were told it was a 5K run, it ended up being a 10K run. They'd sold themselves for those finishing positions at the end of the 5K. And I think one of the amazing things was they compared the times, the first half and the second half. And they were decent second half, if not a little bit quicker for one or two of them. I can't remember if they scored them as two events. I think it was just scored as one event with a twist midway. There was this little thing where it was a surprise for them that every single male athlete and all of the female field sort of who hadn't yet finished, the surprise was spoilt. But certainly they'd done more than like 4.5 kilometers of the run. So it still sort of held up and it was still valid. So yeah, moment number 6.
That turn around and do the whole thing in reverse. Brutal stuff by the Dave Castro, but just a beautiful and again, very unique moment to give them the information at the time. We'll see. but it definitely makes for some memorable moments. Okay, we're getting down to the business end now. The moments are really hard to rank at this stage, but in 5th place, we're going to the 2016 CrossFit Games.
I don't envy being Wykie in this position. So one of the things that I've decided on my various little videos is they're not going to be a top 5 list. They're just going to be best of, most epic. And they're just going to be some things that have come to my mind. As I said, I was on a plane to the south of France via the north of Spain. But to actually try and put these things in list order, mate, I'm reacting, I'm not hating, but I'm guaranteeing you that there will be the haters in the comments about whatever you say, whatever order you put them on them. So well done, mate. You're a braver man than I am.
There was a sprint event, and once again, we're talking about Matt Fraser here. You already know the moment. I wouldn't look at Matt Fraser and say, sprinter.
2016, sprint event. You wouldn't look at Matt Fraser and say sprinter because 2015, sprint event, Dan Bailey goggles, he was garbage. And this is one of the defining things about Matt Fraser. And there's greater context to this moment, is that he saw a weakness and he just went after it. He's spoken on numerous occasions about going and training with the high school athletics team to improve his running, like literally learning what he's trying to do when he's running, and come in from like a 30-odd position in the sprint in 2015, which ended up arguably costing him the CrossFit Games, to doing this. And I hope that you've got the commentary left on, because this is also one of the greatest pieces of commentary in CrossFit Games history.
You know what I mean? He's not the tallest dude in the world. Yet again, he surprises everyone, comes from behind, chases down Ben Smith, and just the most epic finish. Actually, I should say it was a race between Ben Smith, Matt Fraser, and on the sideline, you had Marston, the cameraman, running with a gimbal as fast as the boys. But in 5th place, you've got the sprint event of 2016.
So, okay, the commentary isn't on there, but Marsden running as fast as them, it being against Ben Smith, who had pipped him to the CrossFit Games the year before, it's just reminding me that there was another epic moment in the 2020 Games with that sprint event, him versus Sam Quant. Sam Quant just sort of eating into his lead on the final sprint, and it was neck and neck, and ended up like being 0.03 hundredths of a second splitting them or what have you. But yeah, this was good. This was a moment. Shame we didn't have a commentary.
Matt Fraser, unbelievable. Oh man, sometimes you forget just how good the guy was. Look how athletic he is. And you got to mention Patty V's hair, just flowing. Fabio. Okay, this next moment.
Are you kidding me? That's it, isn't it? Sean Woodland. Are you kidding me? What can this guy do? Incredible.
In 4th place, gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. We've already covered the event on the ladies' side. It is the clean at the 2019 CrossFit Games.
Okay, so I mentioned this when he did it I hadn't realised that he divided it between men and women. Maybe that means the sandbag leather is going to come back up again, because the men's finish in that was insane. Brent Fakowski, one more little hitch and he'd have added up and he would have won the event outright. As it was, he stuck his arm out too early. 4 people tied. Jason Hopper, false start. Nick Matthews, Guy Malheiros is winning. He reaches for the line with the wrong foot. Nick Matthews goes with the right foot. It's an exact tie. It was incredible. This was entertaining. I mean, Panchek, Fraser was a really tight finish in this, and Fraser's just an animal. I suppose the one thing that really doesn't satisfy about this event is that you're going into it and you're expecting Olympic weightlifter Tia Claire Toomey and former USA Olympic weightlifter Matt Fraser to do the business. And they did. So if anything can be said against it, really it's that. Although I said a couple of other things against it before about the shrunken field. But yeah, Fraser, this is a moment.
On the men's side, we had Matt Fraser and Scott Panchik left. I've never seen Scott Panchik so fire up. He's normally a pretty calm, reserved kind of athlete, but he was firing up, and Matt was matching it with his energy. They both made 375 pounds, and then Scott missed 380, or didn't even really attempt 380. And No, the tiebreakers is not an option
look how
for me.
hyped
I
he
miss
is.
this guy so much.
He's not
I miss
certain he's
Matt
going to get
on field
this.
so much. There's
He is
been
really
no one
pumping
like him.
himself. I forgot
You
about
watch
that.
his video and you just see the energy he brought, the self-belief, the confidence, just there. Oh, just something special. Like hits 380, the crowd went berserk. It was just, yeah, top 5 moment, 4th place, Matt Fraser, 2009.
I've got to admit, before he retired, Matt Fraser was my absolute everything in CrossFit. I loved him. And one of the things that sold me on Matt Fraser the most was the little smile that he gave. I loved his little smile, like a cheeky little boy, just so thrilled. And just there, can we go back to it? There's a hint of it. Not that one, from straight on. Let's go. Look at him. Look at that. Barbell in hand. Yes. You've got to love it. Matt Fraser, you're a beauty on the competition floor. Well done, my man.
The crowd went berserk. It was just, yeah, top 5 moment, 4th place, Matt Fraser, 2019 clean event. Okay, here we go, the top 3.
That was number 4 in CrossFit Games history. Now, let's just sit down and say that you're Wykie Estebeth and you are coming up with this list, okay? And you think to yourself, yeah, number 4, Matt Fraser winning the clean event against Scott Panchak. How does your brain not then go to the crowd running literally with Scott Panchak that year that he had the dodgy knee? I don't think that's going to be in your top 3. I'm sort of only now remembering it, so maybe it's not that great a moment. But my word. CrossFit Games are good, guys. And if you are not hyped, if you are not pumped for this year's CrossFit Games, then you should be. The women's field. Like, we know Tia's going to beat Laura because she's been created by the military in a lab or something like that. She's a $6 million woman. Like, they've rebuilt her and she's better than she ever has been before. And yet, come on now, Laura is the reigning fittest on earth, and there are so many fit women. So many women who I think on that next tier are head and shoulders above who were previously the next sort of bunch, the block. You know, the sort of people you need to be able to get in between whoever wins the event, whoever's chasing her down, and Tia. Now you've got Gabby Magala, you've got Alex Gazan, you've got Emma Lawson, you've got Ariel Lowen, you've got Danielle Brandon, you've got so many women. Apologies if I'm missing anybody out, but so many people who can just get in the mix and disrupt those points finishes. And on the men's side, I mean, it is hot. You've got 3 guys from Australia who have got a genuine shout of top 10. You've got Dallin Pepper nearly pipping Jeffrey Adler, beating Karenikov, who could have maybe beaten the 2 of them. You've got Paddy V, you've got Brent Vakowski, you've got James Sprague. Oh my word, Luka Dukic. Or Lazar, I never remember which one's which, but this year's CrossFit Games is probably going to end up being Justin Medeiros. He won the West Coast Classic after I said that he was washed. I cannot fathom this year being a damp squib. It is going to be incredible. And if you are brave enough to call a winner, call a podium and get it right, then you deserve whatever money the Heat One app is going to be giving away. That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
Back it up to 2014, event number 10, the push-pull event. You already know where I'm going with this. Josh Bridges, Rich Froning. Final set of handstand push-ups.
Can I just say, I mentioned how beautiful everything is that Wykie puts out. You should have been listening along to this, not just listening along to me as well. Visually, his camera, all the blur, all the lighting. I mean, I'm just here and I'm using whatever camera's built into my computer. He nails all of that. The music, Wykie. Well done, my man. This is epic. In fact, forget my reaction video. Go find the largest screen you have in your house, turn the volume up, put this on, and get hyped. Josh Bridges, Rich Froning, push-pull. Yeah, this is a moment. And it's Josh Bridges winning an event. And he is one of the best to watch celebrating winning an event. No doubt about it.
Rich Froning comes down off the wall with 3 reps to go, plays it safe. Rich started catching, he's got a bigger reach, and Josh just gets there in time. The sandbags they're kicking against are moving, and the judges are adjusting it, and he just gets there, jumps on, and Josh Bridges just explodes.
Look at this.
And what a moment out. That stadium, that open tennis stadium in Carson was just
Looks like
something
Rich is going to
special.
smash
That
him.
red platform, slightly elevated, even above the first row of the crowd. It was just, man, there were some crazy moments in our sport. How cool. That's
If that's number 3, wow. Number 1 and number 2. At this point, I should be thinking, what is number 1? What is number 2? If that's number 3, what is number 1? What is number 2? Okay, well, we know what number 1 is, right? I've got that, and I'm not going to say it until it comes, because there's one actual moment that is the best moment in CrossFit Games history. So what will be number 2? I don't know. There's too many. It's too much fun.
reliving all these epic games moments. It's got me going. It's got me going. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's not enough Rich Froning in here, and therefore the second spot on the leaderboard goes to Rich Froning. We're staying in the year 2014. Double grace.
Can I just say, I am grateful, Wykie. I'm going to make a video about some of the biggest blow-ups in CrossFit Games history. I'm grateful that you haven't taken any of those negative things, because Rich Froning failing the rope climbs in 2010, I think his first victory was in 2010. That was epic. That was epic. Some of the things that Kalipa has done to lose events and to lose games have been epic. But you've stayed positive, and I think there's more than enough epic moments to go around. So I'm glad about that. So Rich Froning, 2014. I'm not sure where we're going, but I'm sure it will be immense.
And Rich is known for barbell cycling. He's the guy who made famous the EMOM. Every minute on the minute barbell cycling, that was his jam. And so he's going head to head with Kalipa and Fraser. They're chasing him down, but he's leading the way. And he finishes his last rep, lets the bar fly over his head. And you've got Sean Woodland, saying, in 2011, fittest man on earth. 2012, fittest man on earth. 2013, fittest man on earth. Rich Froning, 2014, that's the fittest man in history.
5 reps to go.
He's included the commentary on this one. Yeah, boy. Let's get after it. Sean Woodland does give us a good final event. I'll give you that.
For Rich Froning, 2011, fittest man on earth. 2012, fittest man on earth. 2013, Rich Froning, the fittest man on earth. In 2014, Rich Froning is the fittest man in history.
And he just walks over the line, the crowd's going nuts. Oh man, I've got goosebumps as I'm talking about it. And
What I love back then as well is how much you rewatch that video, you can hear the crowd. And also how outstanding all of those men look. Like how you could not want to do CrossFit when that is what's being held up. Rich Froning, a clean-shaven, untattooed Matt Fraser, Jason Kalipa, just absolute biltong.
the number one spot and the most memorable moments at the CrossFit Games is
Fibonacci final, the women, Tia Claire, Cara Webb, 6 points, 0.6 of a second. If it's not that, if it's not the Fibonacci final and the most epic, like literal side-by-side tight finish to a games which ends up being fractions of a point, then you're wrong. If it is that, well then happy days, we're all in agreement.
Cole Sager winning the Spirit of the Games award. The number one spot, 2017, Fibonacci. Tia Claire Toomey has come second 2 years in a row.
Before we build this up, can I just say, side note, Matt Fraser this year, incredible. It was the record points win ever for a man. I think only one person so far had finished the event. He was sort of toying with not finishing the event. I'm sure that he'd been asking the questions of what is the minimum work requirement because he didn't need any points from this event. And he goes out and absolutely, in that studly way, destroys it. And the smile from Matt when he won was magnificent. But that is not to take away. It's Cara versus Tia, Aussie on Aussie, for the title of fittest women on the earth. Wykie, I feel like you're about to explain the whole context to us. Take it away, my man.
2016. She's searching for that #1 spot. She is going to this final workout only 6 points ahead of Cara Saunders. Cara Saunders, or Cara Webb at that time, was the greatest CrossFitter around that had not been on the podium at the Games, and she is only 6 points away from the first place spot.
In our point structure, it's virtually win and you've got the title.
Now, this video's got 7 minutes left. Are we about to watch the entire event? We're not. I mean, it's a much... Are we?
The finale, the Fibonacci final. You have parallel handstand push-ups, kettlebell deadlifts. Finish that off with a 90-foot overhead walking lunge. But one athlete who has held that third place position for the last 2 years.
Sorry to keep interrupting. This is where the lunge finish really came into its own. He put it there as the Justin Medeiros moment, although Justin sort of did it unfettered from anybody. We had it, I think, last year at the Games. Brent Fikowski was within touching distance because of Korenikov's injured foot of making it an all-Canadian men's podium, and he failed on the lunges at the end. You had this year in the semi-finals, like that sprint event, the calories, muscle-ups, dumbbell lunges. I mean, this is where all of that comes from and why a lunge to the line is a quality CrossFit Games sign-off.
Annie Thorstadter.
One last test, 6-minute time cap. Do not expect these ladies to need it.
We're starting with 3 parallel handstand push-ups into 5 kettlebell deadlifts.
Tia Claire Toomey moves ahead of Cara Webb, and she's getting a couple of reps in that interval between her and Cara. Annie Thorstadter, first one through the 3-round portion of the event, making her way on the lunge. Sarah Sigmundsdottir is 2 lanes below her in yellow and blue in second place. In lane number 3 is Katrin Davidsdottir.
I mean, at this point, you're thinking, the deed is done. Cara is behind points-wise, and she's behind on the floor, and you think all of the drama has disappeared. At the moment now, you're actually watching to see if Sarah Sigmundsdottir can win the event and overtake Annie for the podium position. You're not thinking about the title anymore at this point because it's a done deal.
And Katrin Davidsdottir might give her some help. Tia Claire Toomey in the background sets the kettlebells down. Cara Webb is still moving with hers. Sigmundsdottir trying to go unbroken. 5 feet away. Will she get the help to pass Annie Thorstadter for third in the points positions? She gets 100 points to help her out. An event win for Sarah Sigmundsdottir. Annie Thorstadter right behind. She will be on the podium. Now, who will have the #1 spot? Tia Claire Toomey, 6 points ahead of Cara Webb entering the event. She just needs to finish ahead of Cara. 5 feet remain.
It is really all over now. She's ahead of her on the field. She's ahead of her in the points. Cara's just put down those kettlebells. Good night, Irene.
1 year ago, Tia Claire Toomey, the first person to be an Olympian and a Games athlete in the same year. She's struggling to finish it up. Cara Webb right behind her. Can Tia still hang on? They are neck and neck at the line to the podium. Cara legs are out.
I mean, it genuinely was that close. No, it's Sarah's time there, but it's like less than half a second that separates them. Cara did beat Tia, but because they were exactly next to each other, she didn't have the points advantage to overtake her on the table. So,
For the most amount of podium finishes by an individual athlete in Games history at 5. Wow.
The last thing Tia-Clair Toomey wants to do is sit on the side of the podium again and wait for the math to get done before it gets announced at what place she finishes in.
1 year ago,
that's the times on the screen: 47.8, 47.99.
this year the weight will be dueling Aussie, Aussie, Aussie chants, as there'll be 1-2, but we wait and see which Australian walks away with
This always annoyed me, still does annoy me, when we know how many points are given for every place. We know the scores going in the first place. We know how many places Cara needs to finish above Tia to win the games, or not for Tia to win the title. At this point, there should be no drama. I sort of understand that they want to check and double check that things are there in place, but if you're watching, then you know who the winner is.
As we begin in Madison. For Tia-Clair Toomey, she hasn't been outside of the top 2 all weekend long. Cara Webb, she needed 7 consecutive top 10 finishes to move from the middle of the pack after event number 4 to find herself possibly on the top step of the podium. And the director of the games, Dave Castro.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2017 fittest woman alive is from Australia. Your 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games champion is Tia-Clair Toomey!
To me, that moment, you know, it's such a defining moment for both of the ladies, you know, but imagine if Cara won it, how the story would have been different. But Tia wins it and has now gone on to win 6 CrossFit Games championships. That was her first one. That was her first one, 2017. It was the closest finish, the greatest race. You know, Tia was on the finish line and just couldn't finish it. The arm gave in, had to back up. Cara caught up. To me, 2017 Fibonacci is the greatest moment to date at the CrossFit Games.
Well, I agree, mate. So, joke's on you.
Don't care what you say. But I do want to hear what you say, so drop it down in the comments.
Yeah. And I knew that there was no way that I was going to be able to watch these without having more than one comment and opinion to have. Hence the entire video, which is now an hour long.
But there you go. That right there, to me, are the top 10 moments at the CrossFit Games so far. There are many more, and it's very hard to rate them and to rank them, but I feel like that is a good representation. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you like this content, make sure you subscribe and like. I appreciate you watching, and I cannot wait to experience some more epic moments. I'm sure there's going to be many of them this year as we head to a new venue, the Dickies Arena, Texas, Fort Worth. Oh, I'm so excited. I just booked my flights, and man, I'm going to go work out right now. I'm going to go work out.
So, just to say, I haven't booked my flights, but what I have booked is my tickets to the Rogue Invitational in Aberdeen later in the year, that I'm definitely going to be there. Wykie, outstanding choice there. There is no way that you could relive all of those memories and not be absolutely hyped. So can I just ask you to do 2 things? Jump in the comments of this video, and sort of, if you think that I've said anything out of place, by all means tell me what a plonker I am. If you want to agree or disagree with anything that Wykie has said, jump over to his videos. Please go and watch both of his videos. Give them a like. Subscribe to him. He's going to keep on producing the content. He's got like an in with HWPO as well, so he's got access. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it with a friend, and as Wykie always says, keep roaring love. Stay sexy, you sexy beasts. Does he say that, or have I made that up? And anyway, it's time to snap, crack. It's time to snap, crackle, and pop a top. Peace.